It was supposed to be a simple family dinner, a rare moment when everyone was together after busy weeks apart. The table was set with all our favorite dishes, laughter filled the air, and my daughter, Emma, was sitting right beside me, smiling and chatting. The evening felt warm and safe, just the way family dinners should be. But then, in the blink of an eye, everything changed. I looked away for only a moment to answer a call on my phone. When I turned back, Emma was gone. No sign of her anywhere around the table or in the room. At first, I thought she was playing a game, maybe hiding for fun. But the panic hit me almost immediately when I called her name, and there was no response. I scanned the house, calling out frantically. The front door was locked, windows shut. It was as if she had simply vanished into thin air. My heart pounded in my chest. I couldn't understand how someone could disappear from a locked house without anyone noticing. Just then, my husband's face changed. His usual calm demeanor vanished, replaced by a pale, drawn look. He pulled me aside and whispered with urgency and fear in his voice, "We're not safe here." His words sent chills down my spine. What could be more terrifying than my daughter disappearing? Why was my husband so scared? Questions swirled in my head, but there was no time to waste. Something was very wrong, and I had to find Emma fast. After my husband's whispered warning, a heavy silence fell between us. His usual confident presence was gone, replaced by an anxious tension I had never seen before. "We're not safe here," he repeated, his voice barely above a breath. I pressed him for answers. "What do you mean? What aren't you telling me?" But he shook his head, unwilling to explain. Instead, he urged me to stay calm and keep this quiet for our own safety. His reaction only deepened my fear. Why was he so afraid? What danger did he think we were in? I looked at him, searching his eyes for any hint of the truth, but all I saw was panic. Meanwhile, I kept calling Emma's name, my heart pounding louder with each passing minute. The house felt colder, darker, as if something sinister had crept inside. I reached for my phone to call the neighbors, hoping someone had seen something. But before I could, my husband grabbed my arm gently but firmly. "Not yet," he said. "If word gets out too soon, it could make things worse." The tension was unbearable. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but a strange sense of dread stopped me. My husband's fear was contagious, and I knew deep down he wasn't just being paranoid. As minutes ticked by, I realized this wasn't just about Emma disappearing. It was about something far more dangerous, something hidden beneath the surface of our perfect family life. As the initial shock began to settle, I knew I couldn't just wait around for answers. Emma was missing, and every second felt like an eternity. My husband and I split up to search every inch of the house, calling her name desperately. I checked the bedrooms, the backyard, even the garage, anywhere she could have wandered off to. Outside, the night was calm, but my mind was in chaos. I questioned if she could have slipped out somehow, but all the doors and windows were locked tight. There was no way she could have left without us noticing. We hurriedly alerted the neighbors, hoping someone might have seen something unusual. Some came outside immediately, concerned looks on their faces, joining us in the search. I felt a mixture of relief and despair, grateful for the help, but terrified for my daughter. Phone calls were made to the police, and I found myself pacing the living room, waiting for them to arrive. My husband was quieter now, standing near the window, his eyes scanning the street as if expecting something or someone to appear. Despite the growing crowd and the flashing blue lights outside, the fear inside me only grew. I kept replaying every moment of the evening, searching for any clue I might have missed. Then, a knock at the door startled me. A neighbor stood there, looking uneasy. "I saw a strange car parked near your house earlier tonight," she said softly. "It didn't look familiar, and the driver stayed for a while." That small detail sent a cold shiver down my spine. Could this stranger be connected to Emma's disappearance? The pieces were starting to come together, but the picture was far from clear. With the police now involved and the neighborhood on edge, one thing was certain. This was no ordinary missing child case. Something deeper, darker, and far more dangerous was unfolding, and time was running out. The police began their investigation, but I quickly realized I couldn't just sit back and wait. Emma was my daughter, and I needed to do everything in my power to find her. As the hours passed, my husband grew more withdrawn, avoiding my questions and slipping into silence. His strange behavior only fueled my anxiety. Determined to find answers, I started looking through old messages on his phone while he was distracted. What I found shook me to my core: conversations with people I didn't recognize, coded language, and references to debts and threats. There were names I had never heard before, people who seemed dangerous. I confronted him, my voice trembling. "What is this? Who are these people? Why didn't you tell me?" He avoided my gaze, finally breaking his silence with a whisper. "There are things I haven't told you because I wanted to protect you and Emma. But now, it's out of control." His confession opened a door to a world I never imagined, a secret life tangled with debts, enemies, and threats that I had no idea were looming over us. The stranger my neighbor saw? Maybe one of those enemies. Fear mixed with betrayal as I realized that my husband's past had come back to haunt us, and now my daughter was caught in the crossfire. I knew we had to act fast. I shared everything with the police, hoping this would speed up their search. But deep down, I knew the danger wasn't just external. It was inside our home, inside the family I thought I knew. The next morning, the tension in our home was unbearable. The police had left with more questions than answers, and the neighborhood was buzzing with rumors and speculation. I barely slept, my mind racing through every possibility of where Emma could be and who might want to hurt her. My husband, once a man I trusted completely, seemed distant and broken. But despite his silence, I could tell he was fighting a battle within himself. The secrets he had been hiding were tearing us apart, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of genuine fear in his eyes, not just for himself, but for our daughter. Then, the call came. It was from an unknown number, and my heart stopped. A cold, unfamiliar voice on the other end said only, "If you want to see Emma again, stay out of this." I wanted to scream, to argue, to demand answers. But the fear in that voice was enough to silence me. Whoever had taken Emma was watching us, manipulating us, and making it clear that one wrong move could cost us everything. I turned to my husband, desperate for support, but his face was unreadable. For the first time, I realized how deep the danger really was, far beyond a simple missing child case. This was a threat to our entire family's safety. I made a decision then and there. I wouldn't let fear control me. I would fight for Emma with every ounce of strength I had, even if it meant confronting the dark secrets my husband had buried and the enemies lurking in the shadows. The truth was coming, whether we were ready or not, and I was determined to uncover it, no matter the cost. The chilling phone call left me restless, but it also ignited a fire within me. I realized that the key to finding Emma lay not just in the here and now, but buried deep in the past, my husband's past. Secrets he had long kept hidden were unraveling, and I needed to dig through the shadows to bring the truth to light. That evening, I confronted him again, demanding he tell me everything. For hours he resisted, but eventually the weight of guilt cracked his defenses. He confessed to debts he had amassed years ago, to dangerous people who had been threatening him, and now us because of it. The stranger at our house? One of those very people. The coded messages I had found weren't random. They were warnings, threats, attempts to protect us at the same time. It became clear that Emma's disappearance was no accident. She was being used as leverage in a game I never wanted to be part of. Despite his past mistakes, my husband swore he never meant for any harm to come to her. He begged me to trust him again, promising to do whatever it took to make things right. But trust was fragile now, shattered by lies and fear. Still, we had no choice but to stand together. I knew we had to work with the police, follow every lead, and prepare for a confrontation with the shadows of his past. The stakes were higher than ever. Our family's future depended on what we did next. As the days passed, the tension only grew thicker, But then something unexpected happened. A man showed up at our door, someone I never thought I'd see again. He was an old friend of my husband's from years ago, someone who knew the full story behind his debts and the dangerous people involved. At first, I was wary. How could I trust anyone after everything? But this man, Mark, brought with him crucial information and a plan that might just help us get Emma back safely. Mark explained that the people threatening us were part of a larger network, organized, ruthless, and unpredictable. They had ways of tracking us, controlling the situation, and making sure we felt powerless. But Mark had his own reasons for helping. He had been burned by the same group and wanted to make things right. Together, we started piecing together clues, phone records, strange sightings, and patterns that pointed to where Emma might be held. It was risky, and every step felt like walking on thin ice, but it was the only chance we had. My husband, despite everything, began to open up more, sharing details he had kept secret even from me. The three of us became an unlikely team driven by fear, hope, and the desperate desire to bring Emma home. I realized that in the darkest moments, sometimes the most unexpected allies can make all the difference. After days of searching and gathering information, we finally received a lead that pointed to an old, abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. Mark's insider knowledge helped us narrow down the location, but approaching it was terrifying. The kidnappers were dangerous, and any wrong move could cost Emma her life. That night, under the cover of darkness, we made our move. The police were hesitant to get involved directly, so Mark and my husband planned to sneak in while I stayed nearby, ready to call for help if anything went wrong. As they disappeared into the shadows, my heart pounded relentlessly. I kept replaying the last few days, the fear, the lies, and the desperate hope that Emma was still alive. Minutes dragged on endlessly. Inside the warehouse, tensions flared. My husband came face to face with the people he owed, their anger and threats more intense than I ever imagined. But he stayed strong, knowing that Emma's safety depended on him. Suddenly, a commotion erupted. Voices rose, doors slammed, and footsteps echoed. I held my breath, barely daring to move. Then, out of the darkness, Mark appeared, followed closely by my husband Emma between them, trembling but alive. Relief flooded me, but I knew this was only the beginning. The danger that had threatened us hadn't disappeared. It was still lurking, waiting to strike again. But at that moment, all I cared about was holding Emma close and knowing she was safe. The relief of having Emma back safe was overwhelming, but the battle was far from over. The ordeal had exposed cracks in our family, in my husband's past, and in the life we thought we knew. As Emma clung to me, visibly shaken but unharmed, I realized how much we all had to face. The police stepped up their efforts, using the information Mark provided to launch a full investigation into the dangerous network that had targeted us. My husband cooperated fully, admitting to mistakes and debts that had put us in harm's way. It was a humbling moment, a raw confession that marked the beginning of our healing. But the scars ran deep. Trust was fragile, and every glance, every word held a weight of suspicion. Emma's disappearance forced us to confront uncomfortable truths, not just about my husband's past, but about the choices we'd all made. The safety we had taken for granted was shattered. Family members reached out, some offering support, others keeping their distance, unsure how to navigate the new reality. We were left to rebuild from the ruins, piece by piece. Despite the pain, there was hope. We found strength in one another, and slowly the darkness began to lift. But the road ahead would be long, and the shadows of the past still whispered warnings. For now, we held on tightly to what mattered most, our family, and the promise to never take each other for granted again. In the weeks following Emma's return, life began to settle into a fragile new normal. The nightmare that had once consumed us was fading into the background, but its impact lingered, like a shadow that follows you, even in bright sunlight. My husband and I started attending counseling sessions, both individually and together. The road to healing wasn't easy. Trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild. We had to confront not only the external threats, but the internal wounds left by secrets and lies. Yet, with every session, I saw a glimmer of hope, small but real. Emma, too, needed time. The little moments she clung to me, her silence, the sudden bursts of tears, were all reminders that trauma leaves marks invisible to the eye. We promised each other that we would protect her fiercely and never let fear dictate our lives again. Mark remained a constant presence, a reminder that even in the darkest times, allies can emerge from unexpected places. His knowledge and support had been invaluable, and his friendship became a beacon of strength. As we moved forward, the threats didn't vanish overnight. There were still whispers, shadows lurking at the edges of our lives. But we were no longer powerless. Together, we had faced the darkness and come out fighting. Our family had changed, hardened by pain, but strengthened by resilience. The ordeal taught us the value of honesty, the importance of standing together, and the courage it takes to forgive, not just others, but ourselves. Looking back, I realized that the crisis, as devastating as it was, had forced us to confront what truly mattered. It stripped away illusions and made us confront our fears head-on. Now, with Emma safe and our family slowly healing, we were ready to build a future on a foundation stronger than ever before, one built on love, trust, and unwavering determination. This was our new beginning,